Have you ever woken up feeling tired before the day even starts, even though you barely did anything the day before? It feels strange, almost like the tiredness is coming from somewhere you can't point to. No long hours, no heavy tasks, no non-stop activity. Yet something inside feels drained, like your energy slipped away quietly when you weren't looking. Carl Jung believed that the mind has layers we rarely pay attention to. Layers that pull us, shape us, and drain us in ways that don't always make sense on the surface. It's the kind of exhaustion that doesn't show up in your schedule, but shows up in your mood, your focus, and the way your body feels. Maybe you've noticed it. That slow heaviness, that empty kind of tired, that strange sense that something is wearing you out even when nothing is happening. This kind of fatigue is rarely about what you do. It's about what you carry inside. Quiet pressures, inner tension, old habits, and thoughts that never quite settle. And the mysterious part? Most of this happens beneath the surface, where the mind works without your permission. So let's open the door a little. Let's look at the hidden reasons, 9 of them, that might explain why you feel tired even on your quietest days. Reasons Carl Jung hinted at long ago, rooted not in the outer world, but in the one you keep inside. The first reason is something you rarely notice, yet it shapes your energy more than you think. You carry a hidden part of yourself. Carl Jung believed that every person has inner layers, parts that stay out of sight, even from their own awareness. These pieces don't make noise. They don't ask for attention, but they quietly draw energy all the same. You may feel tired even when you do nothing because something inside you is always active. You hold back certain reactions. You keep some thoughts unspoken. You adjust your behavior without even realizing it, just to keep everything steady on the outside. It doesn't feel dramatic, but it slowly wears you down. The mystery is that you can't easily explain this kind of heaviness. It doesn't come from tasks or movement. It comes from the silent effort of carrying parts of yourself that you haven't fully explored yet. Jung suggested that when these unseen layers stay hidden, they take more energy than you expect, almost like you're holding up a section of yourself that hasn't found its place. This isn't physical tiredness. It's the weight of managing a self you're still discovering. The second reason is something you might feel without ever putting it into words. You're caught in an inner conflict you haven't named. Carl Jung often pointed out that people can battle themselves without knowing what the fight is about. 2 parts of you may want different things. 2 directions may pull at you at the same time. You keep moving through your day, but beneath the surface, there's a quiet tension, one you haven't fully recognized. This kind of conflict doesn't shout, it doesn't stop your day, but it does drain you. You may feel tired even when you do nothing because your mind is trying to hold both sides together. You're keeping balance between what you want and what you think you should want. Between who you are and who you think you're supposed to be. This balancing act is invisible, but it demands constant energy. The strange part is that you might not notice it happening at all. You just feel a heaviness, a pressure that doesn't match the calmness of your day. It feels like something is pulling from inside, but you can't point to the source. Jung suggested that unnamed conflicts are the most draining, because you can't settle something you haven't yet identified. And until you see it clearly, it keeps running in the background, quietly wearing you out. This isn't the tiredness of effort. It's the tiredness of holding a silent argument within yourself. The third reason is something you often accept without question. You've slipped into roles you never consciously chose. Carl Jung noted that people pick up certain behaviors over time, quiet expectations, automatic responses, ways of acting that feel normal because you've done them for so long. You may not remember when these roles began. You may not even realize you're still carrying them. but they take effort to maintain. Maybe you've learned to stay composed even when you're overwhelmed. Maybe you make yourself agreeable to avoid tension. Maybe you play the capable one, the calm one, or the strong one, even on days when you don't feel like any of those things. These roles become so automatic that you don't question them, you just perform them quietly. But even silent performances work. You might feel tired even when you do nothing because these roles don't disappear just because the day is calm. You carry them everywhere, into quiet rooms, empty afternoons, peaceful moments. They follow you into stillness. The mystery is that these roles aren't always chosen. Sometimes they're formed by repetition, by habit, by old expectations you've absorbed without noticing. And when a role no longer fits who you are, it creates resistance inside you. Soft, subtle, but draining. Jung suggested that living too far away from your true self creates an internal strain. Not enough to break you, just enough to make you tired for reasons you can't explain. This isn't the tiredness of doing too much. It's the tiredness of pretending, even when you don't think you're pretending at all. The fourth reason is something almost no one sees. Not even you, most of the time. You hold back thoughts you never voice. Carl Jung often talked about the parts of yourself that stay unspoken, the ideas, reactions, impulses, and opinions that you push into the background. Not because they're wrong, not because they're dangerous, but because expressing them feels complicated, or unnecessary, or simply uncomfortable. So you keep them inside. And holding them in takes energy. You might feel tired even when you do nothing, because you're quietly managing an entire inner world you don't show to anyone. You stop yourself from saying certain things. You soften your reactions. You filter your thoughts before they fully rise. This all feels small in the moment, but each small act becomes another tiny pull on your energy. What makes it mysterious is how invisible it is. You don't see it happening. You rarely acknowledge it. Yet it's working inside you all the time. Jung referred to this hidden collection of unexpressed pieces as a part of the self that stays in the background, waiting, pressing, reshaping itself. When you keep too much inside for too long, your mind uses energy to hold everything in place. It's not loud exhaustion. It's a quiet drain. A slow leak of energy caused by thoughts that never find a place to go. This isn't the tiredness of talking too much. It's the tiredness of staying silent in ways you don't even notice. The fifth reason is something subtle but powerful. You're constantly watching yourself. Carl Jung noticed that people often observe themselves without realizing it, checking thoughts, reactions, expressions, or behaviors as if under a silent microscope. You don't even need to move or speak for it to happen. Your mind is quietly scanning, judging, adjusting. All at once, you might feel tired even when you do nothing because this constant self-monitoring takes energy you don't notice draining. Every small gesture, every passing thought is being measured, even unconsciously. Your mind is acting like an invisible mirror, reflecting yourself back to you endlessly. What makes it mysterious is how automatic it is. You rarely stop to think about it. It's a background process, but one that keeps your inner system running non-stop. Jung suggested that the mind's tendency to monitor itself so closely can be exhausting. It's not about what you do physically. It's the mental effort of holding yourself in check, of always being your own quiet observer. This isn't the tiredness of external effort. It's the exhaustion of being endlessly self-aware, like carrying a mirror everywhere you go, even when you're alone. The sixth reason is one you might barely notice, yet it follows you everywhere. Your mind never truly stops. Carl Jung often pointed out that even when the body rests, the mind keeps moving. It replays moments, imagines possibilities, weighs decisions, and runs through endless what-ifs. Even when you think you're doing nothing, this inner activity is quietly working, relentlessly. You might feel tired even when you do nothing because your mind is still running, even in silence. Thoughts, worries, and reflections swirl without pause. Your mental engine never shuts down, and energy slowly drains as it hums in the background. The strange part is how invisible it feels. You don't see the effort. You only notice the result. A subtle heaviness, a lack of energy, a kind of quiet exhaustion that seems to come from nowhere. Jung suggested that this constant mental activity is natural, but if left unchecked, it creates fatigue without any outward cause. It's not physical strain. It's the invisible work of the mind that never rests. This isn't the tiredness of movement or action. It's the weariness of having your thoughts always on, even when you wish they weren't. The seventh reason is something you rarely notice, yet it quietly shapes your energy. Old patterns are running in the background. Carl Jung believed that past experiences often leave traces in the mind, automatic habits, reactions, ways of thinking that continue long after their purpose has passed. You may not be aware of them, yet they guide your behavior, your thoughts, and even your feelings without asking for permission. You might feel tired even when you do nothing, because these old patterns are still active. Your mind is replaying routines that no longer serve you. Your body is responding to habits formed years ago. Even moments of rest can't fully escape them because they are built into the way you move, think, and react. What makes it mysterious is how subtle it is. You don't see it, but it's there, quietly running in the background, shaping how you feel, and slowly draining your energy. Jung suggested that outdated patterns create invisible resistance. They aren't obvious obstacles. They're quiet weights you carry everywhere, even in moments that should feel light. This isn't the tiredness of doing too much. It's the fatigue of living with habits that no longer fit who you've become. The eighth reason is something most people avoid noticing. You fear the stillness within. Carl Jung observed that silence often reveals more than activity does. When everything around you slows down, something inside you starts to stir. Tensions, unresolved thoughts, and subtle pressures you usually ignore. Stillness can feel uncomfortable, even without a clear reason. You might feel tired even when you do nothing because your mind reacts to silence as if it's a space full of hidden weight. Every quiet moment can bring attention to things you've been avoiding. Even the calmest days can feel heavy because your mind is processing the unspoken, the unresolved, and the unseen. The mysterious part is that you often don't realize this is happening. You think you're resting. But your inner world is quietly active, testing your comfort with simply being present with yourself. Jung suggested that avoiding inner stillness adds to exhaustion. The more you push away silence, the more energy it takes to keep yourself distracted or occupied. True rest is rarely about the body alone. It's also about allowing the mind to settle, even when it's uncomfortable. This isn't the tiredness of movement or action. It's the subtle fatigue of avoiding the quiet space inside yourself. The ninth reason is something few people notice until it's clear. You're growing faster than you realize. Carl Jung believed that personal growth happens quietly, beneath the surface of daily life. It doesn't always feel exciting or visible. Sometimes growth feels heavy, confusing, or even tiring before clarity appears. You might feel tired even when you do nothing because your mind and self are shifting in ways you can't fully see. Old ways of thinking are changing. New ways of being are forming. Even when everything around you seems calm, your inner world is transforming. and transformation takes energy. The mysterious part is that growth can feel like resistance. You feel heavy, unsettled, or drained, but you're not moving, not struggling externally. It's as if your inner self is stretching quietly, rearranging itself, and using your energy in the process. Jung suggested that this kind of silent transformation is natural and necessary, but it comes with a cost. Your body may feel tired, even when your day looks effortless, because the mind is quietly evolving, building something new from within. This isn't the tiredness of doing too much. It's the fatigue of becoming more of yourself, even before you can see it clearly. Even when nothing seems to be happening, your mind can be quietly working, holding, observing, and rearranging itself. This is the kind of tiredness that comes from within, hidden, subtle, and often unnoticed. The good news is that there are ways to lighten the load and regain energy, without forcing yourself to do more externally. The first step is to notice what's happening inside. Pay attention to your thoughts, feelings, and subtle tensions, even in moments of stillness. Keep a journal, make notes, or simply observe quietly. Jung believed that seeing the hidden layers of your mind begins to release their silent grip, and just acknowledging them makes them less exhausting. Next, name the silent conflicts within yourself. Which parts of you want one thing while another resists? Labeling these tensions, even in your own mind, gives them shape and makes them manageable. The more you recognize them, the less energy they silently steal from you. Allow yourself to step out of automatic roles you've adopted over time. Notice the ways you perform certain behaviors out of habit or expectation. Even small moments of authenticity, pausing, speaking, or acting in ways that feel natural, can lighten the invisible weight these roles carry. Find ways to express yourself quietly. Thoughts and feelings that stay unspoken take energy over time. Writing, speaking aloud in private, or recording ideas can release this tension. Jung suggested that the parts of yourself you keep hidden lose their hold when they are acknowledged. Even small acts of release can free energy for the rest of your mind. Slow down your self-monitoring. The habit of constantly observing and judging yourself drains energy even when your body is still. Focus on one task at a time. Allow yourself short breaks from internal scrutiny, or practice mindful breathing. Giving your invisible mirror a rest restores subtle energy you may not realize is being spent. Let your mind rest. The brain often continues to run long after the body stops. Short periods of quiet, focused attention, meditation, or simply sitting in stillness can help. Jung emphasized that the psyche works in silence, and allowing it to rest is not laziness, but recovery. Observe your old patterns without resistance. Habits and automatic responses often continue running in the background. Simply noticing them without judgment or pressure to change immediately can reduce their energy drain. Awareness alone often brings relief. Embrace stillness even when it feels uncomfortable. Avoiding silence increases inner tension. Use quiet moments to observe your thoughts rather than fight them. Some of the deepest inner work happens in stillness, where your mind finally has space to breathe and reorganize. Finally, respect your inner growth. Changes in your thoughts, habits, or self-understanding take energy. And fatigue often comes before clarity. Recognize that this is natural, not a flaw. Allow yourself rest and patience while your inner self quietly evolves. The kind of tiredness that comes from within is not weakness. It is a sign that your mind is alive, observing, and transforming. By noticing, naming, releasing, and observing, you can reduce the silent drain and reclaim energy. Sometimes simply becoming aware of these hidden forces is the first step toward feeling lighter, clearer, and more alive, even on days when it seems like you've done nothing at all. Tiredness, especially the kind that comes from within, is rarely meaningless. It's not simply a signal to rest, nor is it a flaw or weakness. It's a subtle message from your mind and self, a quiet way of revealing what is happening beneath the surface. One lesson is that energy is not purely physical. Your inner world, your thoughts, silent conflicts, habits, and unexpressed feelings takes effort to maintain. These hidden forces leave traces on your energy, often unnoticed. When you learn to recognize this, you understand that preserving energy requires more than rest for the body. It requires awareness of the mind itself. Another lesson is that fatigue is often a companion to growth. The mind rarely evolves in dramatic bursts. It shifts quietly, layer by layer. Jung believed that the psyche is complex, moving slowly and often unseen. Fatigue can be the mark of inner work, your mind rearranging itself, your self integrating hidden parts, and subtle transformations taking place even when the outer world seems still. What feels heavy now may be the preparation for clarity, insight, or a new way of seeing yourself. Tiredness also teaches the importance of balance. When your mind is overactive, even a calm day can feel exhausting. This reminds you to respect your internal rhythms and limits, to pause without guilt, and to allow yourself space to recover. It teaches that rest is not a luxury, but a necessary part of mental and emotional health. It also highlights the value of attention and observation. By noticing when and how fatigue arises, you can begin to uncover hidden patterns, unexpressed thoughts, or inner conflicts. Jung suggested that simply bringing these hidden elements into awareness reduces their pull on your energy. In this way, tiredness becomes a guide, pointing to the parts of yourself that need recognition, reflection, or gentle care. Finally, quiet fatigue teaches patience. Inner transformation cannot be rushed. The self grows in slow, layered ways, often beneath the surface of your awareness. Feeling tired is evidence that this process is ongoing. It is a sign that your inner world is alive, working, and reshaping itself, sometimes in ways that are invisible to you until the moment of insight arrives. The ultimate lesson is this: your hidden tiredness is not a weakness. It is a signal, a teacher, and a mirror. It shows you where attention, reflection, and care are needed. It reminds you that even in stillness, your inner world is active and evolving, and it teaches that with awareness, patience, and gentle observation, the fatigue can transform into insight, understanding, and renewed energy. Tiredness is not always a sign that you are weak or that you've failed. Sometimes it is simply proof that your inner world is alive, active, and quietly at work. The mind moves in shadows, weaving patterns, exploring unseen corners, and balancing hidden tensions. Jung believed that much of what shapes us happens quietly beneath the surface. The fatigue you feel, even on the calmest days, is a reminder that your psyche is engaged in its own subtle work, reshaping, reorganizing, and growing.